Hey, what's up, guys? This is AJ from the Comeback Sports Podcast, and this is part one of the March Madness Tournament Special. And this part, we'll be talking about our first round predictions along with some Elite Eight finalists. And then the next one, we will be discussing what we've seen in the first round and see if any of our picks have changed along with our predictions for the Final Four. So stick around. Joining me today is going to be Ethan, a former guest that's been on the show, I think, twice, unless it's three times.
I think twice. I think we talked about Seahawks one time and then last year for college basketball.
Oh, yeah. And then that same one for the Seahawks, we talked about the Bulls.
Yep.
It's actually one of my top viewed videos. I don't know why. It just happens that way. And they weren't that good at the time either.
Yeah, now they are.
Yeah, well, kind of. I mean, they're probably in the 5 seed by the end of the season, but I hope not.
The East is just so bunched up this year. Like, it's all within a couple games, I feel like.
Pretty much. And, like, the East is not even as good as the West either.
Yeah.
But jumping into basketball, I mean, right now we're actually watching the first 4 games. Indiana's playing Wyoming, so if we're looking away from the cameras because we're actually watching the game. Because Oregon is also playing Utah State at the moment. So what's been new with you, man, before we jump in?
Oh, man. I guess, not much. Same job, 2 kids. You moved into the house, you know. I guess you're back living with us again. So.
Oh yeah.
Welcome AJ back. So.
Yeah, it's nice. Nice to kind of get a little change of pace. Unfortunately, it's going to be a short run like last time, but get to enjoy some basketball and have a place to just hang out and see the kids and family more. So it's going to be a nice experience.
Yeah, we're definitely glad to have you. So.
Yeah, especially if you need a babysitter for the night.
That's right.
So let's kind of start with some matchups in the West, and then we'll transition to who we think is going to come on top from the West, and then go on to the other regions from there. So the first game I want to talk about is the matchup between Boise State and Memphis. In this game, I have Memphis taking the win. Just some notes that I took today. Memphis is 23rd in 2-point defense, so I'm sure they can protect the paint just fine. It definitely doesn't help that Imoni Bates, who is a 10-point per game player, is out with a back injury. I think he's been out since January. And sure, Memphis had that loss against Houston, but we all know Houston's a pretty dominant program for many years, except when it comes to when I put them in my Final Four and they let me down. But Boise State's coming off a 3-game win streak, and I think that kind of puts them in a good headspace to kind of come on top, because that win streak includes a championship win in the Mountain West. But I'm still going to choose Memphis just because they have that height with their center, Jalen Duren. He's a big impactful player when it comes to stopping Boise State. And the record that they have doesn't really truly reflect what I see from Memphis, because they have some good wins under their belt. Against top 25 teams, Memphis is 3-2, and Boise State has only played one team that was in the top 25, and that was a loss. So what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so the Imani Bates thing, he's been out, like you said, since January, and I feel like that team's been better since he's been gone. I feel like he liked to be a one-on-one player. He was the guy that was going to go to the G League and do that, and then he decided to go to college. And just the experiment just didn't work out. He just felt like he wanted to be in the NBA, didn't really want to be there. So since then, they have been a much better team. So that's why the record isn't as good as it could be. But down the stretch, that team has been fantastic. They beat Houston twice already this year. So they beat them 2 out of 3 times. They lost in the championship game. But I also picked them. That was actually my biggest bet of the tournament was Memphis. When it opened at a pick'em against Boise State. I bet Memphis, so I think it's now -2.5. I think so. Memphis is definitely my pick to win that game, and I think they'll give Gonzaga a game for sure. I think that's a tough matchup for Gonzaga. So we'll see what comes of that. But I think Memphis is the more athletic team. They're the bigger team. I think Boise State will struggle with the press. They are an older team, Boise State is, and they've won a lot of games. They have a good point guard in Shaver Jr. who can hit he hits a lot of big shots, create his own shots. So we'll see what happens with it. But I think Memphis will come out in the end. They actually played Boise State last year in the NIT, and they beat them last year. It was I think it was 59-56 last year. But
that was the same roster essentially.
Yeah, for Boise State it was. And this year Memphis has a much better roster, and they're just a much better team at this point in the season. So I think they're going to overwhelm Boise State, and I think they'll win pretty handily in the end. So
Okay, well, good start to the bracket that we agree on a win, because me and Ethan are actually in a bracket against each other. So hopefully he didn't copy my picks, or hopefully I didn't copy his picks. Is there another matchup you want to talk about in the West? Because I was thinking of going into the Michigan State versus Davidson game.
Let's talk about UConn versus New Mexico State.
Okay.
New Mexico State's from the WAC. UConn, they're a big team, but so is Mexico State. They got a lot of talent. They got Teddy Allen, who transferred in this year. Jabari Rice, who's also a very good player. They've been in the tournament. They get in the tournament, I feel like, almost every year. They gave Auburn, a tough game. I think it was 3 years ago. Different team, but same coach. So he runs the same style of play, same type of players, and I think they can give UConn a game. I still think UConn's going to win the game, but I think they can definitely give them a game, and we'll see what happens with that. But
yeah, from what I'm seeing on the kind of the matchup analysis, and they're both pretty high scoring offenses, so we're going to get a show out of it, I think.
Yeah, and I mean UConn's definitely the better team, but I can see New Mexico State definitely hanging in and giving them a game. They definitely got some players on that team, so.
Yeah, we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on that game for sure. And transitioning over to the Michigan State Davidson game, you're the one that actually told me to watch this one because you think there's going to be an upset. And I'm actually going to go with you on this.
Okay. It's a 10-7 matchup, and the point spread is Michigan State's -1. So it's not that big of an upset. It's just,
Okay.
It's not a huge upset, but it is still considered an upset. But Davidson has Foster Loyer, who was Michigan State's point guard last year. So he has a little bit of revenge factor. He's transferred into Davidson. He's had a good season. He shoots the three really well. And Davidson, they just run really, really good offense. And I think they're going to give Michigan State some trouble. Granted, it's always January, February, Izzo. Everyone thinks Izzo, Michigan State, they're always good in March. This team's definitely been coming along for Michigan State in the last month or so. They definitely had some good wins. But I just think in the end, Davidson's they're just gonna outcut them. They're the better offensive team, and when it comes down to crunch time, I think they're gonna make a few more plays. They can shoot the three. They're one of the better 3-point shooting teams in the country. So
they're
I think
top 8 in 3-point percentage.
Yeah. So they create open shots for their team. They got what's the center's name? Brakovich down low is the center, and he can shoot too. He can shoot threes too. So he's definitely a matchup problem for Michigan State. But he's a good passer too. So he'll back people down and throw it out. And they got everyone on their team can shoot threes, I feel like, and they all shoot it well. So
yeah,
I definitely think Davidson's going to move on. I actually think Davidson has a good shot to beat Duke in the next round too.
Yeah, I'm definitely I was on the hype train for Coach K's last season, but after seeing what happened with UNC, it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like that much of a different Duke team. So I'll be looking forward to that. But in terms of your point about just how offensively elite Davidson is, and 4 players from their lineup average over 11.8 points per game. Foster and Hung Jun Lee, they both average over 16. So there's a duo to look out for. And yeah, Tom Izzo, I give props to Izzo because he is the winningest coach in Big Ten history. That's over Phil Knight. Excuse me, not Phil Knight.
Bob Knight.
Bobby Knight. Phil Knight's from Oregon. I forget that. But yeah, he has more wins than Bobby Knight. He's probably throwing less chairs than him too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just don't think Michigan State will be able to withstand kind of this fast offense that Davidson's going to put on them. And their both defenses are not that great, in my opinion. But it's not like Michigan State's defense is that much better.
No, I think they're pretty average in defense. I don't know exactly where Michigan State's offense ranks, but they got shooters too. They got Hauser. They got down low. They have Bingham. They have players too. So Gabe Brown can shoot the three for them. And the point guard that came in this year, early on he was kind of struggling in Big Ten play, but Tyson Walker, he came in from Northeastern, and he's made some big shots down the stretch. He won the game against Purdue at Michigan State for them, and that was a big win. I think it really helped them get into the tournament this year. So. It's going to be a good game, and I think it's going to come down to the wire. But I think in the end, Davidson's going to hit a few more shots, and Bob McKillop and Davidson's going to move on. So maybe they'll have another run like they had with Steph Curry. We'll see.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I mean, that was so long. I think it was like 2008.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
He was a baby.
Yeah, he was a baby, but that tournament was awesome. Yeah. So.
Who do you have coming on top from the West? So who's your Elite Eight in the West?
I have Arkansas versus Texas Tech, and I have Arkansas making the Final Four. So Arkansas is going to beat Gonzaga in the Sweet 16.
Okay, so that's where we differ. I have Gonzaga coming on top against Texas Tech. The reason I put Texas Tech is I think they have the easier route on that side of the bracket. But Gonzaga is always the safe choice for me because, sometimes you like to get cute about it and like, oh, I'm pretty good at predicting these upsets.
Yeah.
But you got to be – Gonzaga is always the safe choice in my opinion.
And they have a very, very good team this year. Chet Holmgren is a very good player. They still have Drew Timme.
Mm-hmm.
They have Nemhard, who's good. They have all these players that are good, and they're still a really good team. Last year, I think they were a little better last year. Some people may differ with my opinion for that. I thought they were the best team last year. I thought they were going to win it all, and they lost, in the championship game to Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think Arkansas has the players that can do it, and I think they've been playing really well lately, and that's my pick. They're going to beat Gonzaga. So
yeah, that's pretty much the only difference. I had Arkansas going pretty far in, but like I said, I'm just going to go with the safer choice and just go Gonzaga. Transitioning over to the South, is there a matchup you want to talk about from the South region?
From the South region. Let's go Houston versus UAB.
I feel like you're going to go Houston with the upset.
Or UAB with the upset? Yes, UAB with the upset in that one. I got Jordan Jelly Walker. Everyone knows him in the last Barstool Big Cat actually was talking about Jordan Jelly Walker and how they had a triple overtime game in the Conference USA tournament, and he brought him back, and they won in triple overtime, and he is an awesome guard. He hits some tough shots. They also have another guard, a lefty, Ertl, who can hit some shots, and they actually are big down low. They have Jimerson down low, and they're actually a decent rebounding team, too. And that's the one thing. If you're going to beat Houston, you have to rebound, because that's what that team does. They're not a great shooting team, but they get so many offensive rebounds, and that's how they win, and that's how they score points.
Yeah.
So if they can keep them off the glass, I think they have a good shot to make enough shots and beat them. I really think they have a good shot. So.
Yeah, you're right about the rebound because in years that I've watched Houston play, they always have the size, and with that size, they come with rebound opportunities, and that's why I never have them as a first round exit. But just looking at the points per game, like you're not joking, UAB is averaging almost 81 points per game.
Yeah, they can score, and their defense isn't terrible. It's not great, but it's middle of the pack, and they like to press is what they like to press. So, and Houston can handle the press fine. They have decent guards and stuff like that can handle the press, but still you get a press, guys can get flustered and make a few turnovers and create easy opportunities for the other team, and I just feel like UAB has the players this year to make a decent run. I actually got them going to the Sweet 16 this year, so.
Okay.
But yeah, I think they're going to beat Houston.
I think one thing that kind of people don't really pay attention to is the free throw percentage. Because I was watching, it was a Big Ten game. I think it was the Indiana versus Illinois. There's just times where it's like crunch time with a minute left, and those kids can't make their free throws.
Free throws are free. You got to make them.
Exactly. They're free for a reason. And looking at Houston, they're ranked 319th in the nation in free throw percentage. That's 67%.
And UAB is probably really high in that percentage. They're actually a good. At least Jelly Walker is that dude. I think he went 20 for 20 in that triple overtime game.
That's James Harden numbers, man.
Yeah, he was 20 for 20 for free throws in that game. So that dude he'll make all the clutch free throws. So
yeah. I mean, if I see the last couple minutes where it's one possession game, I'm going to be nervous for Houston.
Yeah. So remember that name, Jordan Jelly Walker.
Jordan Jelly Walker. Why is he called Jelly Walker?
I don't know why they name it. That's just his nickname is Jelly. I don't know why they call him Jelly.
I mean, his real name is Jordan
Walker.
Yeah.
And his nickname is Jelly. So.
See, I like the name itself, Jordan Walker. It just sounds like a whiskey. Yeah. One matchup I definitely want to talk about is Illinois versus Chattanooga.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that chat game with you last week where it came down to a buzzer beater, and that was kind of like one of the first mid-major games I've been paying attention to this month, and that game really was the definition of it's March.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
And Illinois to me is just it's not the same as it was last year, even with Kofi Colbert coming back, and he's dominant. He's averaging over 20 points per game, but I don't know. I have a feeling that they're probably not going to. I actually think they might be upset and lose in the first round.
Yeah. I mean, so Chattanooga's a decent team. The one thing that, with them pulling an upset, is that they didn't get a good matchup. That's the one problem. They have DeSosa, who came from Kansas, but he's just not a big guy. He's more of a tall, lankier guy that can score. He just can't defend Kofi. So I don't know how they're going to defend Kofi in the post. I have no idea. We'll see if they come up with a zone and just double team him. But then you're going to leave it. Illinois has plenty of shooters that can shoot threes if they leave. If they double team Kofi, he'll kick it out and they'll keep hitting threes. So I think they're a good team, and I think they might give them a scare in the first half. But I think overall, I think that Illinois is just going to overpower them, and Kofi's going to have a big game. I'm calling it at least 20, 25 points. And they're gonna be tough rebounding the ball down low and stuff. So again, Chattanooga's a good team, and they have Jean Baptiste and Malachi Smith are their two guards that are very good, and then DeSosa down low. But I think they can score. I just don't know how they're going to defend and rebound against Illinois. So in the end, I think Illinois is going to win. And the point spread's only, I think, 7.5 is what Illinois is in that game. So it's not a huge point spread, but I just think in the end, Illinois is going to have too many rebounds and offensive rebounds. And, yeah, in the end, I think it's going to be a decent win for Illinois. So
Yeah, I can see the reason why you think that Illinois is just going to pretty much overwhelm them. The thing that caught my attention was just not only in how much in fashion they won their championship game, but just the overall streak that they're in. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and they're won 5 straight. I like to go for teams that have more in that hot streak, because that hot streak goes into March, and
and they hit a 30-footer to put themselves in the tournament, because they missed that, they're out of the tournament. That's the one thing about the SoCon. They got some good teams in the Southern Conference, but they only get one team in the tournament usually. So, if he misses that shot, they're not in it. So,
I'll give
definitely a hot team, and they have a shot to pull the upset. I could be wrong, but if they're hitting all their threes, maybe. But I just think that there's gonna be too much Kofi in that game.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I mean, looking at games record against top 25, they haven't played a single one. So
yeah,
they look hot, but
yeah, they didn't. The non-conference schedule this year wasn't very tough, but they're a good team. They're old, so they got a good shot. Let's see. Let's talk about Colorado State and Michigan.
Okay.
So this was another one of my big bets of the tournament. I really, really, really like Colorado State in this game. I think the Michigan should not have been in the tournament.
Do you think they put him in the tournament because they were afraid of their coach?
Yeah, maybe.
Someone at work
come
said
around
that.
and slap all of them. I just think it's like the first time in 20-some years, this is the worst record that's made the tournament is them. So I think they just had started off the season too not good enough and had too many early losses, and they shouldn't have been in. But here they are. They're in. They're not even in the playing game. So if anything, if they're going to be in, they should have been in the playing game versus someone else. So anyway, now they get Colorado State, which is an old team. They have Isaiah Stevens, a really, really good guard that can make shots, and they have David Roddy, who has a very, very good shot to make the NBA. He is a very athletic. He's not a huge guy. I think he's like 6'7", 6'8", but he can dribble, he can shoot, he can do all that stuff. The only problem for the Colorado State is I don't know who they're going to use to guard Dickinson. They're not a really, really big team. So that's the one thing. But I just haven't really been impressed with Hunter this year. I just think he's had a lackluster year. He misses a lot of close-in shots. But maybe this year or this game he can feast because he's not going to have big guys like he does in the Big Ten that he has to go against all the time. But I just think Colorado State, who is the 6th seed, and they are actually the underdog by 2.5 points in this game. So everyone's going to be like, oh, Michigan State 11 seed is the upset. It's not an upset. They're favored. So no matter what the seed says, it's not an upset. So
it's a matter of Michigan being misseeded, I guess.
I think that maybe that and Colorado State being misseeded as well. Maybe Colorado State should have been an 8 seed like the other conference or Mountain West teams. Boise State's an 8 seed. San Diego State's an 8 seed. I mean, Colorado State, I think, was the best team. They were ranked coming into the season, so they're supposed to have a really good season. So I don't know. I just think that's what the power ratings are. Michigan it's more of what they expected Michigan to be this year and the talent level they have, and they expect it to overpower Colorado State is my guess. So, but I just don't see it. And Colorado State, I think, is going to win the game, and I think they're going to win it pretty easily. But that's just my opinion. They did have some travel issues, though. Actually, so every team gets a charter plane or charter bus paid for to go to these sites.
Yeah.
So Colorado State has been trying to figure out what plane they're taking or to get to the site, and they did not find out until this morning. They were leaving at 9:50 a.m. this morning to get to the site, and they play on Thursday. So in Michigan, just has to take a bus to go to. They're playing in Indianapolis, so it's a quick 2-hour bus ride for them. Or not in Indiana. They're playing somewhere close to Michigan campus, so it's not a long bus ride for them. So that helps too with fans and stuff. So that's another reason why they might be favored as well. So
because their bus ride is shorter,
and they're from a bigger conference. People are hating on the Mountain West, so I think the Mountain West is going to have a decent tournament. Besides the Boise State Memphis, I think Boise State's going to go out pretty soon, like we talked about earlier. But
yeah. And we mentioned Boise State earlier, and they did sweep Boise State, and one of them was an overtime win. So I think this will be a much closer game than what the seeding tells us for sure. Mm-hmm. And one of those wins includes a win against New Mexico. So that's also a team you can't really scratch off.
Yeah.
I'm still scared of Javon Howard though.
Yeah, you never know when that little slap's going to come in.
Especially if I'm walking around with a Wisconsin shirt or something.
Yeah, you don't want to do that around him.
Yeah, that's another story about Wisconsin. If we have time, we might talk about that matchup. Let's see. I don't think I have another South matchup. Oh, yeah, I have one more. Ohio State versus Loyola Chicago. I feel like when I listen to this matchup, I am listening to very biased sources. Usually it's like Chicago radio or Chicagoans. But I truly think Loyola Chicago is just going to beat the brakes of Ohio State. Ohio State's just been underwhelming. I haven't seen nothing impressive. Yeah. Besides the fact they're in a harder conference. That's it.
Yeah, everyone is on Loyola. Everyone thinks Loyola's going to win. Personally, I think Ohio State is going to win. I think they have their freshman Branham's been coming on. They still have Liddell. I think they have the best player in Liddell. Lucas Williamson for Loyola is a very good player as well. But E.J. Liddell, I think, is the best player in this game. So I just think that Ohio State's going to win in the end. I haven't really been super, super impressed with Loyola this year. I'm one of the few people that hasn't been that impressed when I watched them play. Granted, they had a great MVC tournament. They played great in that tournament, and they have the talent to do it, and they've been here before.
And there's some good teams in the Missouri Valley. I mean,
UNI and Drake are both good teams. Missouri State's a good team. So, there's good teams in all these conferences, all these mid-major conferences. There's a lot of good teams. So they can pull upsets and win. So I just think that I don't think Loyola should be the favorite, and they are the favorite in this game. Mm-hmm. And it's a 10-7 matchup. I'm picking Ohio State. I picked them to win. So I'm in the minority here picking Ohio State to win. So
okay. And the reason why I kind of go into Loyola winning is I mentioned that me and Brian did the March Madness special last year, or not last. We did it together, but we did a pre-March Madness special. But another guest on my show was Hudson. He was telling me some mid-major teams to watch. Just like you, he follows the mid-majors really closely, and just how much he had, some faith in Drake and UNI, and he was right about them. They did pretty good. So if Loyola can come on top of these teams, I really trust that they can make at least a decent run.
Loyola ended up being fourth in the MVC in the regular season. Then they ended up winning the conference tournament. It was a tough game against Drake, but so it's a tough conference, and I think all four of those teams could have easily won a game in March.
Right.
I think they could have easily matched up with a lot of teams. So
before we transition over to the overall winners of the region, I'm looking at the injury report, and maybe you can see my screen, but is there any players that are out or may not play that alarms you from Ohio State?
I think Young, he's a forward. I thought he was playing. I haven't really looked at the injury report recently, so Kyle Young is definitely a big piece of that. So I don't know if he's playing or not. I haven't looked at it recently. They still have a couple days to come out with that for sure if they're playing. I know Kyle Young hasn't played recently. I think Liddell was hurt for a little bit, but I don't know for sure. What
Okay.
are you showing over there? What are the names that might be injured?
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Who are the names that you're showing there?
I got Seth Towns,
Mm-hmm.
Justice Suing,
Okay.
Kyle Young, as you mentioned, and Zed Key. Of all of them,
Zed Key, yeah, he's a good player too.
yeah, of all of them, Kyle Young is the one that piques my
Does it
interest
show
the most.
out or?
I have ankle for Zed and just illness for Kyle Young. Expected return is tomorrow, so
Okay. All right.
they'll
So
probably be back.
that'll help Ohio State a lot. If both those guys are out for sure, then it makes it a little different. But I think the talent for Ohio State is above Loyola's, and I expect them to win. So.
Okay. All right.
So let's go south.
Yeah.
My Elite Eight is Arizona versus Tennessee, and I have Arizona making the Final Four.
Yeah. Once again, we have one team that matches for both of us, and I have Arizona against Villanova and Arizona come on top. Tennessee, I was back and forth on Tennessee.
Yeah, I had them beating Villanova in the Sweet 16. So again, that'll be if Tennessee Villanova play in the Sweet 16, that'll be an awesome game. So I just think that in the end, Tennessee's got the.
Yeah, it was hard for me to choose just because they both had tough schedules, and their record against good teams is pretty similar.
And I think the SEC is the best conference in basketball this year, so that's why I took Tennessee overall. The Big East is a good conference too, but I just thought that SEC was better, and Tennessee should not have been a 3 seed. So. But.
What do you think is the worst Power 5 conference this season?
Let's see, we got Big 10.
ACC?
Big 12. Oh, ACC by far, yeah. No, not even a chance. Yeah, ACC is definitely the worst.
Yeah, there's really no one on my list that I've mentioned from the ACC that I want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, who they have? Virginia Tech wasn't getting in. They got in because they won the tournament. You got Duke, UNC, Virginia Tech. I thought they had a 4th team.
Let's see. No, those are the big ones I can see.
Yeah, maybe we'll run by it in one of these matchups. But yeah, maybe there's only those 3.
Yeah.
And I think Wake was on the bubble. Oh, Miami, Florida.
That's right, against USC later.
Yep.
Okay. Oh yeah. Once again, our Elite Eight for this region is pretty similar, just one team off. So this might be a close one if our brackets are neck and neck.
Yeah.
So speaking of the ACC, let's get on to the East matchups. And one match I want to talk about is UNC versus Marquette. I was on the phone with my buddy that lives in Wisconsin. He was talking about this game a little bit, and Marquette to me hasn't been how I usually remember them to be, in terms of the regular season. But what's interesting in this matchup is it's in Wisconsin. It's actually in Milwaukee, so I think that's going to be a big help for them, which is why I have Marquette over UNC. Just because, yes, they came into their tournament, their conference tournament, unranked. So that just tells me that their regular season was just a little underwhelming to their standard. Mm-hmm. I mean, Marquette was underwhelming, but Marquette at least has the home field advantage.
UNC came in underwhelming into their conference tournament?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they definitely didn't have a very good season. I mean, they had a decent season, but again, the ACC was considered the worst Power 5 conference. So to be their second team, and then they beat Duke at Duke, Coach K's last game.
That was so weird.
They just destroyed them that game. They just demolished them. So it was never really a close game, it was a very surprising outcome to me because Duke had handled them in the first meeting. And so it just shows that UNC has the talent. It's just they can't ever put it all together. This year they can't put it together. Their team just doesn't play smart basketball. They're definitely the more talented team than Marquette is.
Who replaced Roy Williams?
Hubert Davis.
He was under his tree, I'm guessing.
Yeah, he was that something. He was a UNC. He's a UNC. That's where he went to school and played and whatnot. So, but his team, it's just they're not a smart team. But again, they can out rebound everyone. But Marquette's a decent sized team too. They're not small by any means. They have Shaka Smart, who I feel like he's getting back to his roots of what made him a good coach at VCU, and he's getting not as talented of players, but guys that'll buy into, pressing and running the havoc style that he likes to play. And at Texas, he got top talent, but they're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to play that type of basketball. I want to score and get to the NBA. So, I think Marquette's going to win as well. UNC's favored by 3.5 in the game. I think they shouldn't be favored. Marquette, Justin Lewis is an awesome guard for them, and so is Elliott. Elliott's their good 3-point shooter. Say they have a lefty. I think his name's starts with a K. I forget what his last name is, but he's a lefty. He shoots pretty well as well. So the one thing I worry about is Baycott getting on the glass and out rebounding him. That's what UNC does. They out rebound everyone. But again, I think that Marquette has enough pieces down low that they can handle them and they'll be able to rebound as well. And I think they'll make enough shots and playing closer to home will help. I don't think it matters that much, to be honest with you, because Michigan's playing closer to home too, and I picked Colorado State to beat them, who has to travel all the way towards that area. So it matters some, but not a lot. Mm-hmm. So it's still a neutral site, considered a neutral site. They'll have fans there, but speaking of that, I'm really excited to have fans at this year's March and be back to the normal March Madness. Like watching Champ Week this last week with all these conference tournaments and having fans there just made just a huge difference and made just remember why we all love this.
Yeah, that's true.
This is the best time of the year. It's the best sports time of the year.
Because it came back last year, but there wasn't fans. Still.
Right, they had a bubble. Every team played at the same arena. So there was fans. I think near the end they had fans at the games, but it's just having a full packed house just makes a huge difference. So
yeah, it does. It brings
so
the
anyway,
madness
so we're
to
both
the
on agreement there about Marquette.
Yeah,
winning that game. Let's see, another game that I want to talk about. How about UCLA and Akron?
Okay.
So I think Akron has a really good shot to upset them as a 13 seed. They just won their conference tournament. That's how they got in. They played earlier this year at Ohio State at the very beginning of the season, and they lost by 1. They had a shot to win it at the end. They missed a buzzer beater. And that was when Ohio State, I think they came into the season ranked top 10. They had all their pieces. No one's hurt. And they went toe-to-toe with them. And they have a guard, Ali, that's really good. Castaneda is a very good 3-point shooter. So they're going to jack a lot of threes. That's just what they do. So in games where teams jack a lot of threes, there's a lot of variance. And so did UCLA. UCLA likes to shoot a lot of threes too, and they're a very good team. But I think Akron has a shot to pull the upset here. They're like a 14-point underdog, I think, in this game. So we'll see about that. But I think they match up decently, and I think their defense they can hang with UCLA and they can shoot with them and so I think it comes down to who makes the most threes in the end, and I'm gonna roll with Akron.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with UCLA just because what they did last year when they were pretty much underdogs for majority of that tournament, and they kind of showed that same potential going into the beginning of the season, and they were looking like one of the number one teams, and I don't really see much of a decline from the beginning of the season because we all know teams like Wisconsin or Ohio or Iowa State where they go 15-1, or LSU where they go 15-1 and then they slow down. But I didn't really see that much of a decline with UCLA. It's still like they were still meeting the expectations I was expecting.
Yeah, they had some injuries and stuff like that, and Juzang had some issues early on, or in like the middle of the season where he wasn't shooting as well. Mm-hmm. He's definitely gotten back to shooting very well. They're an awesome team, and I think that they have a chance to make a deep run. But I just think that in this game, I think they're going to lose, and I think their season's going to be over. And they're running into a hot team who just won their conference tournament, and MAC team last year that Ohio. They beat. They made a nice upset as well last year, so I think another MAC team's going to make another upset. So.
Okay, so you in your bracket you have UCLA losing, correct?
First round, yep. So
I have. If you're wrong, then I have a lot of potential because I have UCLA in my Elite Eight.
Okay.
So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, for my Elite Eight, I went chalk 1 and 2 seed Baylor versus Kentucky. Kentucky making the Final Four.
I got UCLA and Kentucky. Kentucky making the Final Four as well.
Yeah, I think Baylor, as long as they can get all their pieces back, I think their team is awesome. So,
I'm just tired of seeing that mullet kid.
Matthew Mayer.
Yeah.
Or Meyer. I don't know how they say their name, but
I don't know. But okay, so once again we have one matching team in the Elite Eight in this division. I'm trying to think. There's another matchup I want to discuss. I kind of briefly want to talk about this one. The 7-10 seed, Murray State versus San Fran. This is a mid-major matchup that I think is going to be surprisingly interesting to people who are not
Oh, yeah.
super basketball fans. I mean, mid-major fans.
Yeah, like I'm actually mad that the committee put these two against each other, because like so I was listening to someone today and they were talking about if they would have put San Fran versus Marquette and Murray State versus UNC, then I think both Murray State and San Francisco would have won those games. They're both very very good mid-major teams. They have the pieces. I think in the end, I'm still torn about this game. I think Murray State's like a 1.5 point favorite in the game, so it's a really tight game. I think San Francisco is going to win the game. They've played the tougher teams this year. They played in a tougher conference. So I'm going to take San Francisco to win the game. But I think it's going to be an awesome game, and I'm still mad that they're both playing this game in the first round, and they should not be playing each other.
So you were expecting them to meet up later, like
I just think that they
Sweet
shouldn't be
16.
playing. They shouldn't put these good mid majors against each other. Put the mid majors against middle of the road high major team like a UNC or a Marquette or any of these a Michigan and Indiana, whatever is who they should be playing. Not two really good mid major teams that finally get into the NCAA tournament. Now they got to play each other. So
yeah.
That's just my 2 cents. It drives me crazy. They do this all the time. They always do this. So.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that point because the reason why March Madness is exciting is because you get a little of everybody involved, and if you can get the mids against the lows, the mid majors and the high majors against each other, that's what that's what brings the shock factor into March Madness.
Oh yeah.
And the average basketball fan, like pretty much like myself, in terms of college basketball, we always get surprised, like, whoa, we not expect this upset, but then we got fanatics like you that pay attention to these mid-major teams, like, oh, well, this was supposed to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they all got good. There's so many good basketball players, man. I tell you that no one sees, no one watches. So this will be a very.
Well, not everyone has ESPN Plus to watch these games that only parents of these kids watch.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited to watch this game. It's going to be an awesome game, I think. But in the end, I think San Francisco is going to win the game. I think whoever wins this game is going to lose in the next round. But
yeah, I agree on that part.
The one thing is if Murray State wins, they'll play most likely Kentucky, and you'll have an all Kentucky battle there, which would be an awesome thing too. But I think you're going to get San Francisco versus Kentucky. So
yeah, in this matchup, I got Murray State going on top because from what you can see, they are 10-0 in the last 10, but I can't knock down San Fran because I remember watching the Gonzaga game with you, and three of their losses within their 6 losses in the conference, both of them are against Gonzaga, and the other one's against St. Mary's. Those are easily the 2 best teams in their conference.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, and they played some decent teams, and they played them tough. It's not like they got blown out, all the games. They can shoot, they can score. And Murray State, they're 10-0 because they've played in the OVC, which, they had Morehead State, which is a pretty good team. And they had, I think Belmont's in there too.
Yeah, Belmont is in there.
They have some decent teams in there too. But they also have a lot of crap teams. So I mean, I just think they're 10-0 because
it's just
of
a
their
weaker
conference. A weaker conference, and San Fran's, and it plays a tough conference. So I think they're more battle tested, and so I'm going to trust in that team, and that's who I think is going to win. So
okay. And at least we both agree Kentucky was going to wipe either one of them.
Yeah, I think they're very good this year. As long as they can stay healthy, as long as Ty Washington's healthy, that's the one thing with Kentucky. So
looks like we got one more region. It's the Midwest. One that I wanted to talk about was I'm going to go off a little off script. I wanted to talk about Providence versus South Dakota State, but I definitely want to talk about one of the teams that I follow closely. And I want to talk about the Iowa State versus LSU matchup.
Okay.
This is a very interesting one because you and I both know Iowa State's offense is anemic. It is just not great.
It's Brockington or nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And
go create some shots for us is what they ask them to do. So,
but it's very interesting. LSU doesn't have a coach,
right?
So I don't really know how to go about this matchup.
Yeah, I think LSU is athletically they are one of the most athletic teams in the country, and I don't think it matters who their coach is. To be honest with you, I think maybe losing Will Wade. A lot of times you see these coaches get fired or whatever, and the team comes out and they want to fight for that person, or they're better because of it. I don't know if this is going to be the same situation because the reason why he got fired is because he has sanctions coming. He screwed up earlier before they had the NIL deals and all that stuff. He was, everyone's heard him on the wiretaps and all that stuff. But I just think they're gonna overwhelm Iowa State athletically, and I think they're gonna blow them out.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. I think that Iowa State just can't score. Their defense is good, and they're gonna make some defensive stops and whatnot. But I think they're gonna out rebound Iowa State. I think they're gonna outshoot them. I think everything. I just think they're gonna. Yeah, that's my.
Yeah, after seeing their attempt, remember that word, attempt, and trying to make a run in the Big 12 championship tournament, it just seemed clear to me that these kids had a real good run.
Yeah, they did.
But it caught up to them, and they couldn't perform to the new expectation.
Yeah, and their expectations coming in, I think they were probably picked almost dead last in that division in the Big 12 this year, and they come out early in the season, they start dominating everyone, and I think they definitely are set up well for in the future, but I think this year this is going to be end of the road for them.
No, but still, if you look at it if you look at the bright side, like me, it's a big improvement from last year. Regardless of the record.
It's huge. They have the highest change in win total of anyone. I think they match up with. I think maybe there's one. I think it was actually A&M Corpus Christi from them, and they're both 18 games difference of their win total from last year. So, it's an awesome season for them, and them getting in the tournament is huge. So, I think it sets them up for well in the future. So.
Yeah, I agree. What's a matchup you want to talk about in the Midwest?
Let's do the Providence South Dakota State game.
Okay, cool.
It is the trendiest upset pick of this season. Everyone thinks South Dakota State is going to win that game. And you look at a 13-4 matchup, and Providence is a 2-point favorite, which you don't see very often in a 13-4 matchup. Mm-hmm. So it shows you that South Dakota State was misseeded. As well, they have a very, very good team. They shoot 44% as a team from three. So, and Providence give up open threes. That's what they can do that. But I just don't. I think they're going to be the more physical team, and I think that they are going to be the bigger team. And I think in the end, Providence is going to win. This is the one matchup I didn't want South Dakota State to get. I may be one of the few people that think that, but I think down low, Nate Watson is going to dominate. For Providence, and I like their offense. They like to run tight. They do a lot of cutting and back cutting, and they have a lot of. Al Durham was a transfer, came in this year from Indiana. They have AJ Reeves who makes a lot of good shots, big shots. And they have Bynum who comes off the bench for them. That is also an awesome 6-man. So I just think they're gonna. I'm thinking Providence is gonna win. I think that South Dakota State had an awesome season. They went 18-0 in their conference, and that was a good conference. Everyone remembers Oral Roberts last year with Max Edmus and how well they played. He's still there. They won that. North Dakota State was a good team. So for them going 18-0 in that conference is awesome, and I think they're a great team, and I think it's going to be an awesome game. But I think in the end, Providence is going to win the rebound battle, and I think they're going to make enough plays. And this year they've been the luckiest team. They're the luckiest team. They make the shots that they shouldn't make and all that stuff. So everyone thinks they're way better, or they shouldn't be as high as they are ranking wise because they're so lucky of a team. So I think that's going to continue, and their luck's going to continue, and they're going to keep winning. So I think they're going to win the game. Yeah,
I can't ignore the 18-0 record, but I also can't ignore just the overall strength of schedule I'm seeing and their record against a ranked team. And looking at the points per game, it's top notch, 86 per game.
Yeah.
That's Iowa numbers, and Iowa had a real good run these last couple of games, especially their tournament, and they're looking much better too. And I can't ignore that. But Providence, to me, I've seen them in action. I've seen who they faced and beat, and I think it will be a closer matchup than what the seeding shows. But I'm gonna go with my gut and just go with Providence on this one.
Yeah, I really like South Dakota State. I think they have a really good shot to win this game, and they can shoot, 15 to 30 from three and easily win this game. But I think Providence is going to have a good game plan. Ed Cooley's a very good coach. and I think the Providence is battle tested. The one thing I worry about is them is they play in a tough conference. They've had a lot of games, and they got blown out by Creighton in the tournament, and I think that was actually a good thing for them because they got to rest for this last week and a half and not have to play games and just rest up. They have some injuries on their team, so hopefully that'll help them get a little healthier and they'll come out ready to play and start moving on. So
Yeah.
I mean, this is the only game I have either of these two teams winning, so
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't. I have either of them losing next game to Iowa. So
Yeah, I have Iowa going actually pretty far. I'm sold on Iowa. Usually I'm not, but usually when that happens, they tend to choke. So I win either way. I win if they go with my bracket expectations. I win if they lose because it makes you feel good as a Iowa State fan. But speaking of the Big Ten, I want to fit one more matchup because you told me this, and at first, if you would have told me this maybe a couple months ago, like, oh, you're crazy. But now it makes sense. The Wisconsin-Colgate matchup. I got Wisconsin losing to Colgate as much as I'm a fan, and I actually follow them closer than most of these teams. Without Johnny Davis, Wisconsin is an NIT team.
Oh yeah. Easy.
And even with Johnny Davis, he still is kind of getting back into the groove since his injury scare in the I think it was in the tournament or the last regular season game. Either way, Johnny Davis can't carry this team by himself though. Brad Davidson, I've seen him improve. He's literally the Wisconsin version of Jordan Bohannon from Iowa.
He's been there forever. He's just not as good.
But he's just not athletic. I can't trust him every game.
But he makes big plays. He definitely makes big plays. He hits big shots. He's not a great shooter by any means, but he'll make some tough shots here and there, and he'll get hot. But Colgate is a very good offense. And last year, they gave Arkansas a scare last year. They were dominating the first half and let Arkansas come all the way back and take the lead at halftime. But I think they have a shot this year to. They match up well with Wisconsin, and I think they're a very good offensive team, and they're experienced. So I actually think Colgate's going to win this game. And it's actually another trendier upset pick.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Colgate has a good shot to win this game. So
I don't have to know much about Colgate to trust them over Wisconsin just because I know so much after I've seen.
I have not really liked the way Wisconsin has been playing down the stretch by any means. They've definitely struggled. Losing at home to Nebraska.
Yeah, that literally was the icing on the cake for your two seed at least.
Yeah, even without Johnny Davis, like you got to win that game.
It was Nebraska, and that's right. Johnny Davis got some sort of apparent injury in that game.
Yeah, and they lost. So I mean, granted, so Johnny Davis plays. It's and he's probably close to 100% now, or good enough to play a basketball game for sure. They're definitely still a good team with him. They're a very good team with him, but I just think Colgate's gonna get the better of him this game, and again, it's another game that's in Milwaukee. So it's close to.
Yeah.
Wisconsin,
my friends told me that too.
Yeah, they have the home field or the crowd again too, but I just don't think that really matters that much. In my I don't think it matters. So
yeah, not for Wisconsin.
Still not your home stadium. It's still a neutral site. Still not your rims that you're used to. So it's not still a home game, but. So yeah, I think Colgate's coming out on top there.
Yeah, we can agree with this pick. I guess we can go on to our Midwest Elite Eight.
All right, you go first.
Matchup. I have Auburn beating Iowa.
My exact thing, but I have Iowa beating Auburn.
It's the same. We have this. This is the first time our matchup has been the same. But, of course, it's still the same end result, our opposite team.
It's going to come down to a few games if it all matches up with our bracket this year. But, yeah, I just like Iowa. I think this team, I love Keegan Murray. That dude and his brother has been awesome this year, too. I can't tell them two apart on the court. Like, if you didn't tell me if the announcer didn't say, oh, that's Chris Murray versus Keegan Murray, I wouldn't be able to tell. Except one's a lefty,
Mm-hmm.
And Bohannon's finally getting his stroke back. I think if Bohannon starts missing threes again, like he had in the middle of the season where he was missing threes, but if that dude's hitting threes and he makes some tough shots, like I don't know, I think they haven't beaten Kansas, and I think they're gonna beat Auburn. So, and Auburn has not been near as good a team away from home. So I mean I could even see them losing, before that. I have USC beat Miami in the round of 64. So I can see USC giving Auburn a real tough game. So I can see even them losing there. I think Auburn has a lot of talent. They have probably the number one pick or close to it with Jabari Smith. But yeah, I have Iowa making the Final Four. Sorry to all my Iowa fans. I think that I'm a jinx. Hopefully I'm not wrong, but yeah, I actually am a believer in the Hawkeyes finally. Usually I'm not. So, but
They're hot right now.
they are. But every time I've thought, oh yeah, Iowa's good, then they go and do something. Like I remember they were a 3 seed or a 2 seed. They lost to Northwestern State. That was like probably their best team back in the day.
Yeah, and then they lost to Oregon last year.
And then they lost to Oregon last year. It was a really good team.
With the number one player in the country.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like I don't know, but I like the defense this team plays. They press, they mix up their defense, and they have a lot of players that can make a lot of plays and shoot threes. So, but they had that last year too. They just didn't. I don't think they played the same type of defense they have this year. So.
Oh yeah, the defense is very bad.
Yeah, well, it's been better in the last month and a half. They've been awesome. The defense has been better. They've been pressing. They've been, so I think that their defense has definitely been better recently. So we'll see if it continues in the tournament or not. But, also the one thing, so you see a lot of times these teams that win these conference tournaments and have to play, and they're like tired coming in to it because they've been playing. They played 4 games in 4 days or 3 games in 3 days, whatever it is. That's hard on your body. I don't care if you're 18, 19, 22 years old. Bohannon, 35 years old. It doesn't really. Him is probably the worst, but But so that's definitely one thing to think about. But in the first round they're playing Richmond, who did the same exact thing. So who had to win 4 games in 4 days. So and play on a Sunday. They both played on Sunday. So the first game really won't matter, I think, in that sense with the rest. So, but I even think that Richmond can give Iowa a game. It's a 12-5 matchup. Richmond is an old team, and so we'll see if I could easily see I could see Iowa losing their first game. I can see them making the Final Four. So we'll see what I'm going to go with them making the Final Four and hope I'm right.
All right, we'll see. I think this wraps up.
Do you want to go through our champion and all that stuff yet, or not?
I guess we can do the champion because we got to go over regardless.
All right,
we
let's
record.
go. Who's winning the Final Four games?
Okay. I got Gonzaga beating Kentucky, and I got Arizona beating Auburn, and I got Gonzaga beating Arizona.
All right. I got Kentucky beating Arkansas, and Arizona beating Iowa, and Kentucky beating Arizona in the championship game.
Also, our championship matchup is pretty similar. We have one team.
Right.
Okay.
So
this might be a closer bracket than we expected.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
I'm excited, so I'm ready to get this stuff started on Thursday.
Oh yeah. I have Friday off, so after work on Thursday, it should be good to go. I'll try to get my run out of the way in the morning.
All right. Sounds good. All right, let's have a good tournament, y'all.
All right. Well, this wraps up today's special of part 1. Remember, we're going to do a part 2, which will be recorded after the first round. We're going to talk about what we see, what we expect to see moving forward, and maybe our picks may change a little bit. So we're excited to talk more later, and everyone enjoy the tournament. Until then, take care.
Bye.